In March of 2019, while in Verona, Italy, attending the World Congress of Families 13, where hundreds of delegates came together from 45 different countries from around the world. At this World Congress, I was asked to speak on the chilling effects of this demographic winter would have on countries worldwide. Following my speech, a lady approached me. She introduced herself as president of the Institute of European Studies. She told me that after being granted permission, in which we granted her permission to translate our documentary, Demographic Winter, Decline of the Human Family, that they did translate our documentary into 60 different languages, stating that the documentary Demographic Winter was well known now in Europe, and that even the Pope had recently commented on it in his speech given. So I decided to search online, and I found this world news headline which stated, "The Pope warns of a deepening demographic winter." It read, "The Pope reminded his congregation in the chapel at Saint Marta that the very first commandment that God gave man is to be fruitful and to multiply, stating that what it comes down to is that of selfishness. Commenting that aging societies like Europe face a great demographic winter, and what it is needed is more immigration. Without immigration, the Pope added, Europe will become empty, calling it a grave disease. Today, Italy is experiencing these population declines. For the fifth straight year, they have seen major decline in their population. They only have 67 births for every 100 deaths. In 2019, their deaths now exceed births by 212,000. Let's step back in history to kind of gain an understanding of how this demographic dilemma came about. Interwoven into the tapestry of human history as part of this fabric of academic thought in the 1800s was this idea that the world was overpopulated. Charles Dickens, in the early 1800s, wrote a timeless story, The Christmas Carol, where Ebenezer Scrooge made this statement: if they'd rather die, then let them do so, and decrease the world's surplus population. That idea was made famous at that time by Thomas Malthus, an English economist, who wrote and published in 1798 an essay entitled The Principles of Population, where he claimed that food production cannot keep pace with population growth. This scarcity mentality towards population growth was then handed down through the centuries to our day, as it was once again echoed by Paul R. Ehrlich, a Stanford professor who in 1968 published his runaway best-selling book, The Population Bomb, where he stated that by the 1980s, hundreds of millions of people would starve to death due to the fact that of a lack of resources as needed to sustain continued population growth. But did that ever happen? Do we have a lack of resources? However, this unsustainability idea was accepted by many scholars and shared through the centuries to our schools and universities, making it pretty politically incorrect for teachers or professors or even politicians to talk about the importance that continued population growth meant to the economic survival of a nation. For perspective on whether this world is really overcrowded, let me share with you just this hypothetical example. Let's assume that we could take the entire population of the world, which is now just over 7 billion, and give every man, woman, and child a quarter acre of land, which would give a family of 4 an entire acre of ground to live and to cultivate. You could place the entire population of the world in just one country, Brazil, leaving approximately a sixth of Brazil in open space, leaving the rest of South America totally uninhabited, not to mention the rest of the planet. I mean, all of Central and North America, all of Europe, Africa, China, India, Russia, and every other continent and island of the sea totally uninhabited. And we ask ourselves, the question, what, we really can't sustain ourselves? In 1999, on my way back from the World Congress on Families which was being held in Geneva, Switzerland, I was just finishing reading a book entitled The Great Boom Ahead by Harry Dent, a Harvard economist and Bain Capital consultant who claimed that through the study of demographics, that his organization could predict the future prosperity of a country, predicting in 1992 that the United States would see unprecedented growth due to the 81 million baby boom generation. So has the baby boom generation been a plus for America? After World War II, as the American soldier returned home, they started producing babies, which produced the largest generation of births in history. As this baby boom generation reached their peak spending years, between 31 and 50 years of age, the U.S. stock market soared, resulting in 50 years of great prosperity. Harry Dent, an investment advisor, pointed out that if you want to grow your wealth, then one should invest in companies that catered to these 81 million baby boom generation that was moving through the economy. So what is happening in America today, and where are they? And what's the picture? There is an unprecedented demographic shift that is taking place. The baby boom generation found here in America is now entering their retirement years. Within 5 years, by the year 2025, the United States will see a major demographic shift take place. There will be 65 million seniors over the age of 65 and only 58 million children under the age of 13. This is an economic model that is not sustainable.